So there really are some weird rules out there. Did you know that in Delaware it's illegal to whisper in church? In New Hampshire it's forbidden to pick up seaweed on a beach, and in the state of Georgia, eating fried chicken with a fork and knife is prohibited and punishable with a cash fine. But let's be real, what kind of psychopath would disrespect fried chicken like that anyway? Now what about on a cruise ship? Believe it or not, there are some rules out there that you never knew existed and honestly are a little weird. Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to The Ship Life. So as someone that's worked for cruise lines like Carnival and NCL, I can tell you that I've experienced a lot of things while working on board cruise ships. I even got to discover a lot of rules that, to be honest with you, really made no sense. That's why in today's video, I'm going to tell you about 10 weird cruise ship rules and why they exist. So before we start, I do have to admit that some of these rules to some may be somewhat self-explanatory, to others it may be a little strange, but just know that most of these rules are done with safety in mind. However, that doesn't exclude the old saying that some rules are just meant to be broken. So for number one, you are not allowed to bring personal pool floats on a cruise ship. Now this one has nothing to do with safety. It's more about the cruise lines wanting everybody to feel somewhat equal, like a family. Because here's the deal, if somebody decides to bring the really cool Instagrammable unicorn float where everybody has the stereotypical Shamu float that nobody likes, one person's gonna seem cooler than the other. But seriously guys, I guess on the side of safety and just for the overall experience of cruising, I guess they just don't want people bringing in giant floats or the blob on board and then taking up all the space inside the pool. Now, I guess I could say this more so for one cruise line than the other because some cruise ships out there, well, I'm not going to mention any names, they don't really have a big pool with a lot of space. I think we all know which one I'm talking about. Number two, you as a guest are not allowed to shake hands with the captain. Now, naturally, I know everybody wants to meet the man or woman that's taking us on the vacation of a lifetime. We see them, they're somewhat like the celebrities of the cruise ship, the master of the helm. I know it's an exciting thing, but here's the deal. This may seem like something that's somewhat common sense in today's era, you know, with the pandemic and all, but way back when, eons ago, it was weird for a captain on some cruise lines to shake hands or touch any of the guests. This is because if you touch any of the guests or shake hands with even the crew with some cruise lines, you could potentially spread germs and illnesses on board, which would not be good. Okay, my bad. I just realized I said you can't touch the guests. Touch away, bed wrestle, do whatever it is you gotta do if you're a guest and you're hanging out with other guests. It is what it is. I meant captain. Now, while I was sailing on board Virgin Voyages, the Scarlet Lady, for example, I got real close with the captain. So close that we got to take pictures, and I even let him beat me in a game of basketball. I had to, of course, because, you know, he's the captain. That's just how it goes. I could have won though, all right? But it is what it is. Anyway, also back when I worked for NCL, I was working on the NCL Escape, and we had a norovirus outbreak. It became this massive event. Now, originally, it started with the guests. So the crew and the guests were separated. We weren't allowed to touch them. We weren't allowed to interact with the guests. Anything like that. So what ended up happening was eventually everybody on board from guest and crew ended up contracting the virus because I guess, you know, people got a little too close and of course people weren't washing their hands. So moral of the story, no matter who you're touching, guest or crew, always wash your hands, which even prior to the pandemic, you should have been doing that anyway. At least I hope so. So for the third weirdest cruise ship rule, you cannot bring your own food on board the cruise ship, especially on embarkation day. So no, you cannot bring Aunt Petunia's famous casserole. No, you cannot bring your homemade brownies with the special ingredient. This is because the cruise lines want you to eat their food. Who else is going to pay $100 for the filet mignon at the specialty dining option? But there is a safety and sanitary reason for this as well. You can bring non-perishable like snacks if you want to give your kids. You can bring formula, baby food, all that stuff. But the idea is to bring non-perishables because if you bring perishables, for example, like apples and chicken, stuff like that, that could potentially go bad. Let's say it goes bad in one of your rooms. Now you got a bunch of raw chicken and stuff that you don't want in your room and the smell is probably awful and it's going to take the crew a long time to get that out of there. Let's say somebody gets food poisoning and it's from food that wasn't brought from the ship. It's going to cause a lot of problems. Back when I was working on cruise ships, there was a girl on board that was a crew member that somehow snuck some type of mystery meat from Jamaica on board the ship. Now, the problem was that she forgot about it, and I guess she left it under her bed or something like that. It was a big deal because apparently the entire hallway started smelling like whatever it was, fish or I don't know. I just only heard about this. So they had to clear everybody out because the girl wasn't willing to fess up and admit that she brought some food on board. She ended up getting fired once they discovered where the source of the food was actually coming from. Now, I believe it was like her second or third offense anyway, but still, they take that stuff pretty seriously because who knows, there could have been ants or even worse, cockroaches. Number 4, you cannot take any food off the ship. So I get it. I know how much you would just love for the tour guide over in Nassau, Bahamas to try the buffet pizza because it's so amazing from the ship. But you can't do that. Just say, for example, you decide to take some food and give it to any of the people, the locals, or any of the animals, the food from the ship. They could get sick, they can get injured, or worse, they can get a case of the bubble guts and have to go to the nearest restroom. It's just not good. It's also illegal. I'm sure most of you have traveled internationally. You see, whenever you go to the customs or border patrol, they ask if you brought in any foreign meats. That way they can confiscate it. It's just not allowed. So just don't do it. Number 5, you cannot bring game systems on Disney cruise ships. Now, I know this one's going to anger a lot of passengers out there, but the happiest cruise line on earth, Disney, does not allow you to bring your PS5 so that you can play Fortnite, or let's say you got a Nintendo, you want to play my favorite game that nobody can beat me in, Super Smash Brothers. Well, you can't. This is because Disney doesn't want any of their property damaged, specifically their TVs, because you know how some people get really angry, they rage, and they throw the remote control at the TV. Now, yes, you can bring handheld devices like a Game Boy if people even still play those. I know I do. But just keep in mind, you're on a vacation. Go down a water slide, play bingo, or maybe go try to find that girl that you met on embarkation day and try to reenact the scene from Titanic. I'm sure that'll be a lot more fun. The game system can wait. For the 6th weirdest cruise ship rule, no kites allowed on board cruise ships. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. This one is absolutely stupid. This is literally the perfect environment to fly a kite. There's nothing around, you got the ocean breeze. I don't get it. Well, I guess if you really think about it, maybe a kite could get caught in the whale tail funnel of the Carnival Mardi Gras, or even worse, maybe a kite could get in the way of the bridge and obstruct the view, and then we end up hitting the world's only Caribbean iceberg, and then we all drown while we're listening to the tropical music that's played on the Lido deck. So I guess maybe that's not such a good idea. Number 7, the corkage fee. So believe it or not, on board cruise ships, typically you are not allowed to bring your own alcohol. However, there are a few exceptions. Some cruise lines, well, most of them anyway, will allow you to bring 1 bottle of champagne or wine on board the cruise ship. This is to avoid people from getting too drunk in their room and thinking they could fly jumping off the balcony, because obviously that would not end very well for anybody and it would disrupt the cruise. This is also, let's say when you buy something from duty free, they hold it until the end of the cruise. However, let's say you have that wine or champagne that you want to take to a special dinner, you can bring it there and you can drink it there as well. However, there will be a fee in the range of anywhere between $15 or $20 for them to open it for you. It's kind of like a convenience fee since you're not buying anything from the cruise ship. Number 8, you cannot bring your own iron on board a cruise ship. And yes, this does include, but is not limited to, hair straighteners as well. You technically can't bring those yourself. This is because, you know, a lot of people out there forget to unplug these things when they're done using them. And of course, this could cause a fire, which wouldn't be good for anybody in the middle of the ocean. However, there are alternatives on board ships as well. I forgot which one I was on, but I think it was the MSC. It was an MSC ship. They did have an ironing room that you could use. I think they had one available on every floor, like every couple floors, something like that. But also, yes, you could use dry cleaning too. However, here's a little tip, a little poor man's advice for you. If you guys need to iron something and you don't want your stuff all wrinkly when you go out, you could just steam it in the shower. Just put it on a hanger, turn the shower on full heat, and just have it kind of hang there. After that, you use the hair dryer and just kind of dry away, and just like that, you're good to go for the night, looking all swanky and beautiful. Now for number 9, you can never sail on a cruise ship again if you don't hit that like button for this video. Seriously guys, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I'd really appreciate it. It goes a long way with the channel, and you've made it this far, which is some type of indication that maybe you like the video. And if you don't, I guess you can hit the dislike button. It'll only hurt my feelings a little bit. But also make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can get notified whenever I post more videos like this, because trust me, there are more coming. Now for number 9, the guests are not allowed to be friends with the crew, at least not close friends. So I've talked about this plenty of times. As a former crew member, unfortunately, these are just the rules. Crew and guests are not allowed to get too close. I understand there's beautiful and amazing people on board like myself that you can't help but be attracted to our amazing personalities. But here's the reality of the situation. I understand there are entertainers, room stewards, and spa girls, well, especially the spa girls, that you don't want to stay away from, but there are rules because in the past we've had situations where guests did stuff with crew members, and next thing you know, the guests are crying wolf, and now we got lawsuits, and from a business standpoint, from the cruise line's perspective, I get it. They just want to wash their hands of it and not deal with it altogether. Now, looking at this particular situation, I'll tell you a little secret. There is a way to kind of avoid any problems whatsoever if you're a guest and you want to meet up with a crew member that is, living life on the edge. Let's say you have a port of call and she or he has a port of call off. Well, you guys can meet up there, but just don't tell anybody, all right? Just keep it down. Also, you can find other ways too. I know other people have done it as far as going into the cabins and the cameras didn't catch them or whatnot. I used to have a friend that worked in surveillance, so I was able to dodge a couple bullets there, even though I had a close call. I thought I was getting fired once, but that's another story for another day. But also, guys, if not, you will have to wait until the end of a contract from that crew member if you want to, indulge in their attendance. So yes, this rule is extremely strict. A crew member that's not authorized to be in any of the guest staterooms is not allowed to be there, and if they are going there, they will be fired, no questions asked, if the camera catches them. So yes, of course, your officers, your stateroom stewards, your captain, they're all allowed to go into the rooms. Anybody else is not allowed. Again, they get fired. Now, there are a ton of weird rules out there, some of which are strictly enforced, while others not so much. Now, what's a weird rule or law that you've ever heard of? Let me know in the comment section below. Even if it's not a cruise ship rule, I'd love to hear from you guys. But we are going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please leave a comment. It goes a long way with the channel, guys. I'd appreciate it, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. I got more videos coming out very soon. Thank you so much for watching, guys, once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.